Hey Ben,
Hey, Doug.
and number 11.
Yeah, number
Wow,
11.
I cannot believe that just, wow, how fast 11 months has gone. But it seems like yesterday we were talking about your ambition to run 12. You hadn't even run your first one yet.
Yeah,
Um, and now you just hit number 11. That's
yeah.
incredible. So tell us about it, how it went. And yeah, and then we can talk a little bit about where number 12 is going.
Yeah, so I ran it during the same time as the conference. It was the Ultra, I think it's called Ultra Bird. It was a 12-hour race. And so it was pretty much doing like 5 mile loops for 5 mile, I think it's somewhere around 5 mile loops for 12 hours straight. And so really gorgeous. I posted some really cool pictures. It was really pretty. And so, yeah, so I did that for 12 hours, and I went in hoping to get, my goal is to hit 100K. And so I ended up finishing with just under 54 miles, which was the farthest I've ever gone. So that was awesome. But every time we would go in and do a loop, I would stop and, talk to the, not just people, but a lot of the people running the race. There's a couple of vets and kind of like-minded, and we just had a really great rapport, and I was just meeting people and talking. So I think every loop I wasted at least 15, 20 minutes, sometimes more. I know one time was quite a bit longer, just based on some of the conversations I was having. So in hindsight, I know I could have hit my 100K, but more importantly, I was able to reach out and just interact and network and talk with people and just share my story, learn about other people's stories, and just forge some bonds, which has really been the goal in this whole thing, since I started. And so,
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, that would, when you first reached out to me, that was what resonated with me, and why I wanted to follow your story through this year was because of your passion to try and get this message out to veterans. So that's the fundamental reason for you doing all of this. So that's, like we were discussing before we started with this, is that that for you is the most important thing. And unfortunate that you didn't make 100K, but we know that you could do it. I mean, but you got to make these connections, which is really what we're trying to achieve here.
yeah, for sure. And it's the balancing that competitive part of me with staying on point and on task. And it's been interesting because it's been such a long, I mean, it's hard to believe this has been 11 months now going on
Yeah,
that I've been doing this. And it's very, like I had some of the issues with, getting into the VA and with that whole debacle, and then just trying to, reach more veterans groups. And finally now I've been able to start doing that on a larger and larger scale, and getting involved now with some other organizations and volunteering my time and, sharing my story, and then just using some of the things, my basic knowledge that I've acquired through academia and everywhere else, that it's really now starting to pick up, which is nice.
right. I was just thinking as you were talking here about the fact that it's 11 months. But I remember back to, like, your blog that you wrote after your first run, and about all the stuff you were carrying and for refueling and all of that kind of stuff. And so over time, I see that that's changed quite a lot for you in terms of what I was expecting to see, is that you find that more and more that you're running on these fat reserves, and that you don't actually need to carry as much stuff with you and refuel constantly on the run like you do as a carb loaded runner. I'd be interested to hear you just like compare this last race compared to your first race in terms of fuel and what you had to carry and that stuff.
Well, I've been really, really fortunate that people have reached out to me during this whole process. And so, Ross and Kara F-Bomb have been really huge for me. And so they always, I get hooked up with F-bombs and all that fun stuff. And that's generally the fuel that I use. And so when I first started, I was carrying so much everything from,
I remember,
and just gallons of water, to now with this last race, I think I only carried I, I carried maybe 2 F-bombs, maybe one. And then I actually, I had the boxes that I had, I actually put on the aids at the aid station to share with everyone. And so they were actually a pretty big hit. But I think I maybe used that whole race, maybe 4, 5. And then I had some pickles. And that's really it in terms of that whole time. Even water-wise, I would maybe, I actually, believe it or not, I have the vest, the hydration vest that I wear, but I had that. I only had 1 bottle filled, and then I used, this actually is the same one I used, and that has some Zip Fizz in it. And I used some Zip Fizz during the race as well, just for some potassium and some extra potassium.
Right.
But that's it. Like I was really like, I would do in 5 miles. This is I just refilled this bottle, so this is 700 milliliters. So about the size of a regular bottle that I'd use in my vest. That's all I would every 5 miles. I would have maybe 1 full one. And so learning how to what I really need is it's been pretty cool to kind of see what you need. And even fueling wise, I don't really eat that much, like probably should have had more, in all honesty, just to help with my recovery after, but I didn't, I don't even think I took in during the race, maybe 1,000 calories, which is probably, it's a lot less than I should have. And so.
And I remember you mentioning it from one of the other events that you did, how amazed you were at how quickly you recovered from that. Are you still finding that that's the case? Like every time you do one of these huge efforts, like within a day or two, you're back on the road running again.
That's how this one was too. I was out running and I was trying to be a little more mindful of just my recovery in terms of the workload, because this 1 a month thing, it's affected my training. And we talked earlier about this, but I wanted to be kind of mindful of some of the other stressors that are for just health and wellness. So I try not to. I think I ran a few miles like at the Monday after. One of the big issues is that when the race there was a lot of ruts from trees. Mm-hmm. And when I first started, my headlamp broke, and it started in darkness. And so I had used my backup headlamp, which is not very bright. And so I think I broke my foot, actually.
Oh, my goodness.
My toe, which is nothing you can really do for anyways. But I hit my feet a couple times pretty hard. But other than that, recovery-wise, it wasn't bad. I think some of that maybe had to do with my ice bath, my sunset ice bath. But, instead of leaving, I felt fine. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't kind of put into too much oxidative stress, and
Yeah. So this is like back to your army days, and how far into the race? So this is quite early, since you started in the dark, which is, I'm assuming, when you kicked your foot and broke your toe. So you pretty much ran 50 miles with a broken toe as well.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
It goes numb. Like after you hit a certain point, everything just goes numb.
It's kicking after a while, and it stops hurting. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll feel better when it stops hurting. That's what I always say.
It's hard to believe you're coming to the end of this journey, though, man. So what is your last race? What are you planning for your last one?
Well, initially I was looking at a couple different 50Ks races that make sense logistically, but then I thought because I've started being involved with a couple organizations like Team Red, White, Blue, and started to get some of those people out supporting and volunteering myself with some of those events. I thought I'd do something a little different, and I'm looking at doing a 22-hour run. So I'm just going to run for 22 hours. And so right now I'm trying to nail down a couple places that will let me do that. There's a place in Detroit that I want to do it. It's an island park that we have, and it's got a nice 6-mile loop. I was married on the island. It's a very special place to me, so I was kind of hoping to do it there. And it's all self-contained, that would have an infrastructure that I would feel comfortable with. But right now I'm working on trying to get them to give me the permit to do it. And so that's they kind of laughed at me when I first requested it. So I don't know. So we're
No, they didn't think you were
like,
actually really serious.
why do you want to do that? And I chose 22 hours just as a significant thing with just the veterans and deal with the veteran suicide. So so that's what my hope is to do that. And if that doesn't work out, more than likely I'll probably still do it. I just have to find a place to do the 22 hours because 50K is pretty easy at this point. Not easy, but I'd like to do something to really kind of end big.
Something that's worthy of your final chapter, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's not the final. This is just the end of the intro. How about that?
Well, there we go. Yes, the end of the intro. That's a much better way to put it. Yeah. So I actually we'll talk about when we talk after your 12th run. We can talk about where we're going to have a party for one thing, but also where you plan to go next year, and especially how we can try and get this message to more veterans, because was the whole point since you started this thing. So I really want to try and help you with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've always been very appreciative and grateful for your support. And it's opened doors and introduced me to new people that want to take part, and so I'm very grateful to that. And we've talked about it in the past. Sometimes instead of reaching a mass, it might be one person at a time, and that's kind of been my approach. Is right now hitting one person, and it's starting to grow, and it's taken 11 months, but I'm getting a little bit of momentum and getting able to reach some larger and larger groups. But people are starting to see the difference, and so actually, I just worked with a veteran yesterday or a couple days ago, and he had been to the VA doctors, he'd been to chiropractors and PTs, and he wasn't able to get help. Like, they just weren't able to fix it. And I get why. Like, they're busy and I'll say they don't care. But for me, like, movement science and, kinesiology is my background, and I have a different take on things. And I was able to kind of do some things with him and, really just kind of shift some of his hips and some of his movement patterns. And, he was able to move pain-free, and he was like, and he posted it on, something on Facebook or some social media. And now other people are contacting me about, like, hey, can you help me out? Can you do this? And
yeah,
that's the things that, like
one person at a time, and it grows from there. So that's,
yeah. And then it's like, hey, this is my story. And hey, this is what, we do things like keto or a low carb, approach can do, for your PTS. And, I've worked with a few different, vets as well with severe PTS, and, how to help with that. So, and getting them the right resources they need. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been awesome. It's been a slow journey, but it still is, but again, my goal is to, is to reach one person at a time. And so that's all we can hope for.
Good. So, well, hats off to you again. Well done. Can't believe it's 11. And
I know.
Can't wait to talk to you after 12 when you actually have achieved something that, I'll be totally honest with you, I wasn't sure that you were going to make it. I mean, I'm an ultra runner with a huge ultra runner background, and I honestly didn't think that you would manage to get this done. And it's an incredible feat. And I take my hat off to you, and I can't wait to talk to you when you've done the 12th one.
All right. Well, I look forward to it.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Thanks.